Hey guys, Chris from Provo Beast Audio Installation, and in today's video we're going to be installing an amplifier and subwoofer in this 2011 Toyota Camry. Now in this install we're going to show you how to integrate this amp and sub to the existing aftermarket radio. Let's get started. Now one quick thing to note with our Camry does not have JBL. It's just a factory base audio, but additionally it already has an aftermarket radio installed, which makes it real easy for us to install an amplifier because that aftermarket radio is already going to have some RCA outputs. If running the factory radio, you'll need some sort of line out converter, and we can recommend and suggest some in the description of the video. Now, here at the bench, the parts that we're using for our install today, first and foremost, is the amp and sub that we've chosen to go with. We're installing this awesome CT Sound CT-700 by 1D. It's a Class D amplifier, does 700 watts at 1 ohm. Now to accommodate that in the car, we do need a wiring kit, and we can use a CT Sounds 4-gauge amplifier wiring kit. Now not pictured here is the subwoofer combo. We are installing these two 12-inch Pioneers that the customers provided us. Last thing to note, our Toyota Camry already has an aftermarket radio, so we don't have to use any sort of line-out converter or anything like that to provide signal to our amp. If you did have a factory radio and you had non-JBL, you just do a line-out converter to any one of your speakers. If you had JBL, you'll need to connect to the mid-range or sub output at the JBL amp. Without further ado, let's head to the car, start prepping our wire run from the battery area, and we're going to be installing this amp underneath the passenger front seat. Now up underneath the hood, the driver's side front corner is where the battery is located here. Now we do have some corrosion there. We have to clean up these terminals a little bit. But you can either install the amplifier underneath the driver's seat, the passenger seat, in the trunk. It's really up to you. This amp is going to fit great underneath the passenger seat, and there's an easy grommet to get to kind of right here in the back corner. Now you can run your cable up and over the factory loom across the engine bay. We're going to go through that grommet and feed it to the passenger side under seat area. Okay, so we have our amplifier here. We got everything mocked up. We're using a piece of ABS plastic as a mount, and we actually cut it to fit the shape right up underneath the seat with the seat out of the way. Got this all ready to go. Now we're going to start making some connections here. We got a nice shorty ground that we're going to go right there on the seat support bar. There's a nice threaded spot that we found something that would thread into. We'll clean it up really well and mount our amplifier ground right to that threaded spot. So this can be nice and short. Power has to go through the firewall all the way to the battery. We have our little inline fuse ready to go. And now we need to start running that power wire side. So let's head to the engine bay and start running our power wire. Now with our battery on this side, we can actually see there's a factory wiring loom that goes up and across there. And right down inside, there is a great grommet with two they're kind of like nipples that you can cut off, and it leads as a nice hole into the cabin of the vehicle. So we're going to cut one of those off and fish our wire through one of those holes. Now we cut one of those off and we grabbed our notorious hanger, fished it right through that hole there, pushed it through, and we feel it coming out the other side. That's the grommet right up there, and it comes right on down here. And what we're going to do is grab our hanger, we're going to tape our wire to it and pull it on through into the engine bay. Okay, so what we've done here in preparation to pull our wire through, we went ahead and taped our wire to it. And we started lubing this up really well with some soap and water. And what we're going to do is go ahead and pull it from the engine bay so that wire slides right on through that rubber grommet. All right, so with that wire pulled on through, we actually fed it up, zip tied it to that existing lube. It's just right under that lip there. Follow it all the way around the engine. Keep zip tying it. Made a little bend and some ABS plastic. That gets sandwiched underneath the bracket there. Obviously, you never want to drill into the battery, so we have it raised a little bit. Clean up our terminals here. Just got rid of all that corrosion. Just get ready to button things up under the hood here. We won't hook up the negative on the battery until the amplifier is all hooked up. So that is next to get that in line. But for now, this is looking great. All right, so we went ahead and finished our amplifier mount here. Got everything zip tied, got our RCAs all the way zip tied around. Got our speaker wire output ready to go. We got a remote and our RCAs taped, and they're gonna head up towards the aftermarket radio through the center console. Got our ground all done. We just need to put in our power wire and go ahead and get this thing all mounted in the car. There's our ground, good to go. Right into the amplifier. So with the power wire, that obviously comes right down here under the carpet. We pop this on out as you saw. Ran it through this little passage, right up to the input of the amplifier. We got our ground done. Ran our speaker wire out here. We gotta work that way towards the back, towards the trunk. And our remote turn-on wire and RCA cable, we just fish it under the carpet. Since this was out, it just comes up. It's really easy. And we came out there, and we got to pull out the radio to make those connections. So at this point, the amp is in. It's all wired. It's looking great, actually. Fits really nice in this little spot. Now we just got to run these and make our final connections and put the negative back on the battery. All right, so we're here in the car. Now, at this point in time, we just need to temporarily get the radio out so we have a chance to hook up the RCAs to the sub output of the radio and the remote turn-on wire to the amplifier trigger of the radio itself. Now, first thing we need to do is go ahead and unscrew your shift knob here. Now, next here, let's grab these side pieces and kind of just pull. They should unsnap. Just like so. That should now allow this centerpiece to come all the way out. Next here, you're going to have two screws to pull out the lower pocket. Now, if that gets in the way, make sure your foot's on the brake. There's a little button right here. You can actually pull the shifter back without even turning the car on. With that now out of the way, next thing is we need to pop the radio out, but the vents up above are important for us to just slowly work on out as well. Oh, well, that came out. It's not supposed to. I can disconnect that harness if needed. Looks like this dash bezel is falling off. Okay, now we're going to have two screws at the top and two screws at the bottom. Go ahead and remove those. With those four screws removed, the whole piece should come on out. Okay. Now we're going to fish our wire up through here. And we got some wire nuts, so whoever did this did an awful job. So we're going to probably go ahead and fix that before we put the radio in. I can't leave that. That's awful. But we're going to hook the blue wire up to the blue-white wire of the radio. And the RCAs, we're going to zip tie, because we have some extra here. We'll zip tie and make a nice little bundle back here, and those will connect to the sub output on the back of the radio. Clean up, all right, we cleaned up the harness a little bit. We got rid of the wire nuts. Don't use wire nuts in an automotive application. We plugged in our RCAs to the RCA input of the radio, the sub output there, and hooked in our blue-white wire of the radio to our remote turn on that'll go to our amplifier. So that's all done. Time to get the radio all reinstalled. Now, with our amplifier fully connected and everything back together in the dash, we went ahead and put the negative back on the battery. All right, so we got the radio all back in. All the panels are all reassembled here. We got the amplifier all mounted. It's all in. We actually just set our gains with that SMD DD1. So they're perfectly set to the aftermarket radio. And at this point of time, we can actually go ahead and bolt the seat back down. All right, so that's about it for this install. Everything's all back together. You can kind of see the RCA and amp mount that we have there under the seat. It's not going anywhere, but it's nice and easily accessible from back behind the passenger front seat. Now, if you want to see more content on this Camry, we actually have front speakers, rear speakers, backup camera, radio install, 5-channel amp, JBL bypass, everything like that. And if you want to see those videos, we'll link them down in the description of the video. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to hit the like button if you liked what you saw. And don't forget to subscribe and post great content on the channel all the time. And we will see you in the next video.